What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review. Or, I don't know, this might be an EP or a compilation. We're not sure, but we know that this is essentially the last hurrah from this band, and we figured, why not cover it? We are going to go over the latest and last offering from Necrophagia, Moribundis Grim. This also comes out on the 10th of May on Time to Kill Records. This band formed in 1983 in Wellville, Ohio. This is their 8th album, I guess, technically. I don't know. I mean, at least the archive says this is a full length, and maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I will say that this is the last material that the band recorded before Killjoy's untimely death in 2018. And for this last hurrah, they brought in some special guests to help complete these rough works, namely one John McKenty of Incantation and one-time collaborator / member Mirai Kawashima from Psy jumps on and does some keyboards on here. And, I mean, if you're not familiar with Necrophagia, this band is kind of like the unsung heroes of early death metal. Like, they were around that same time as, Possessed and Death, though they really didn't get as much recognition. They were just sort of this underground, horror-loving oddity that was a ton of fun, honestly.
I haven't listened to a whole lot of this band, I'll admit it. I became familiar with them when they released a song on the soundtrack of the movie The Beyond. If you've never seen that horror movie, definitely check it out. Anyway, Phil Anselmo was in the band at the time under the moniker Anton Crawley.
Yeah, this was yet another project that Phil jumped on when, Pantera was supposed to be working on new material, and I guess it kind of irritated the band. Doesn't matter. It was a fun project. I love that album that he's on. And we really just want to check this out because, I mean, it is a send-off to what I would say is a very important band in terms of the evolution of death metal. And this was an interesting release because you get a lot of different stuff from different eras and some re-recordings, and one new song, a cover, a live song. So you get kind of a smorgasbord of just fun stuff that the band wanted to send off the band itself and their beloved friend Killjoy with.
This is a very raw recording. Even the new song, in fact, I would say the new song, I guess, while it is very raw, is less raw than the rest of the album. I mean, we're close to like 4-track demo recordings here. Don't expect bells and whistles and lights and new production. I think this is the way that they would still want it to sound anyway, based on the fact of what it is and the history behind it. And even when they had other albums and they were in the full bore of their heyday, they still didn't sound great.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had some, really raw recording. I recently got the remasters of Season of the Dead and Holocaust de la Morte, and even the remasters, it still sounds pretty rough.
It's rough.
But, I'm not there to, listen to it for the production. I'm there to listen to some raw, gritty, old school, very thrashy, and kind of gothic sounding death metal. And Necrophagia did that to perfection. So this features at least one new track on here, and then some re-recordings, at least of songs that I believe Killjoy wanted to redo, at least vocally, because his vocals had changed over time. There are 2 from Season of the Dead, Bleeding Torment and Mental Decay, and I believe Mental Decay is the one with John McKenty on vocals in terms of a re-recording. He's on the new track, the title track in here, but I believe he does vocals on Mental Decay, and honestly, it sounds good. I mean, it sounds like a raw demo, but I mean, I already know this song. It's a solid song off the debut, and John kind of just sounds like Killjoy.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna bring somebody into a band like this and say, okay, here's what we're working with, and I would guarantee that they knew each other. It was very close, and he stays in that higher register that Killjoy did.
John puts on a hell of a vocal performance. Not so much on Mental Decay, just because at that point I really wasn't sure whether or not I was listening to an old re-recording with Killjoy, him just redoing his tracks.
Right.
I believe that was the idea behind it. Or it was John McKenty doing a really spot-on Killjoy impersonation. Where John McKenty really shines is on the title track, which he just kind of does his thing, but it's in a higher register, his very extended, long, growls and such. His dramatic flair is always good. It's just weird hearing John not do a single low growl.
Death growl, yeah. It's strange because, if you listen to Incantation or you've seen him any number of times like we have, you're used to those lower growls. And here, I think he gets to really shine in the performance. It's extremely theatric.
Yeah, and the song is a bit different. Like, this is probably one of the slower tracks that at least I've heard in terms of Necrophagia's discography, because they're known as a pretty fast-paced band. Like, there's still a lot of, like, thrash to their style of death metal. And this song is notably more groovy and kind of brutal.
Yep.
Like, the riffs are just heavy and chuggy. There's a really good doomy harmony that comes in, and despite John McEntee not doing lower growls, it has this more sinister sound to it that, I mean, granted, Necrophagia was really good at too, but it feels different.
Mm-hmm. And then you get into Bleeding Torment, which is definitely more, again, raw. I mean, demo raw. I mean, we're talking like Mortician raw. And we're not 100% on whether or not it's Killjoy. It could be. It sounds more like him than it does like John McEntee. Like, there's still little nuances, I think, that you can pick apart. I'm not 100%. I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean, it sounds like an older demo. Like, it sounds like that could be Killjoy on there. I mean, it's, one of the older tracks. And honestly, one of my favorites on there, though, Mental Decay, has always kind of won me over because the beginning of that song is literally Night on Bald Mountain.
Yeah.
Fantasia. I don't know who originally composed it, but it's always going to be Night on Bald Mountain because that giant demon Chernobog is creepy. But Bleeding Torment, I don't know, it feels like one of the older demos just because of how it sounds. Like, it's quite a bit muddy. The guitars are a little bit more indistinct. There's a lot of grit on it, but the vocals sound way more like Killjoy. And it's just good hearing like a raw version of that track that eventually turned into a raw version of itself, because the original is raw as hell too. And then the back half is kind of an interesting mishmash of like, I would say like kind of extras. You have a live track, The Wicked, which I believe that song was released as a single in 2013. I had never heard this song before, but this is a live track from 2017. I don't know where, but it sounds like it was recorded on a cell phone.
Oh, yeah. If I was a betting man, I would state that somebody was somewhere like midpoint in the crowd and just recorded the whole thing, because it sounds like that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know, there's an aesthetic to it. There's just like sort of like a dive bar sort of sound. Like, yeah, like they're playing for a crowd of diehards. It's late at night. Everyone's drunk and sweaty.
Right.
You can kind of get that in this.
There's 20 people there. And yeah, it's just a very like old school yet intimate vibe, which I think is what they were going for anyway, because the way this record plays out, from what I gather, is it's more of almost a tribute, if anything. So,
this is a for the fans release.
Yeah. Here's a little like mixture of just everything we got, just a very nostalgic feeling.
And then you have their cover of Samhain or Samhain. I don't know. However Danzig says it. Their cover of Halloween 3, which I love that movie. That movie is absolutely awesome. I know it gets shit on by like a lot of the diehard Halloween fans, but I think it's a great standalone one. And honestly, I like that movie more than I like most of Danzig's career. It's a solid song. I kind of like the way they do it better because it's way more creepy, campy, and over the top. And the samples, of course, from the movie really kind of just like gives you the entire vibe. And, movie samples, namely horror movie samples, namely Fulci movie samples, huge part of this band.
And then you get down to the final two songs. The last one, Sundown, being simply just an outro. Tribal drums, some droning sinister organs. Sounds really creepy. Scarecrows, still raw, but you get some additional instrumentation. Here's where the piano comes in, or the keys. Instrumental song, I thought it was a decent track.
Yeah, it's doomy. It's haunting. I wasn't expecting an instrumental on here, but maybe this is one they didn't have any vocal takes from Killjoy, and maybe it was intended to be a instrumental, but I mean, it sounds like something they would close out an album with, because I mean, it's kind of a Necrophagia thing where they close it with an intro and an outro, and generally it's some Fulci stuff. Overall, again, like this is sort of a mishmash of tracks that they wanted to throw out there because this was kind of the last hurrah for the band, and it sucks that they were actually working on stuff before Killjoy sadly passed, and from the looks of it, some of the stuff probably would have been really solid. Their last album, I think, was really good.
And if Moribundis Grim, the title track, if it says anything about what it would have been, I think it would have been pretty killer.
Now, while I would say, like, this isn't, like, the absolute most necessary release to pick up by Necrophagia, it is, like, you know, something that is just for the fans. Like, the diehards, they've been there for a while, and they want to send off one of their favorite bands in a fun way. And honestly, this was just sort of fun to listen to. It's more of a retrospective and a collection than it is like an album, but it's a fun listen, especially if you've been listening to the band for a while. While it couldn't be helped, I don't like the fact that the production will jump from track to track. Like, you have some that definitely sound like they had a chance to fine-tune them a little bit more, or they were recording them in a different studio, or they were recording them, you know, more recently versus way in the past. But all in all, I just enjoyed this for what it was.
Yeah.
And it sucks that this band is no longer with us. It sucks that Killjoy is no longer with us. But at least we have like one more little thing here to just kind of like, you know what? This was an awesome band. So overall, I'm going to give this 3 stars. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's, you know, like a good send-off. And there's a lot of just like, man, what could have been on here?
Yeah. But
overall, it's a fun release. Like, that's the main thing. And if anything, Necrophagia was fun. And if you don't think so, you don't know what fun is. You're just a boring person that doesn't like horror movies or Fulci gore or anything cool like that.
You, sir.
Shame on you. Shame on you. I think the cover song was actually pretty damn solid. The title track, you know, again, what could have been there? I think that's a banging track. The fact that it is way more groovy, again, those harmonized riffs, the weird lurching bass effect at the end, I thought was awesome too. But I would say this is definitely just for the fans. If you are a longtime fan of Necrophagia, go ahead and snag this one. I'm probably going to snag this one at some point too. But 3 stars. Good stuff.
I'm also going to give it 3 stars just based on the fact, really, that it seems more of like a tribute thing. And, you know, again, while admittedly I haven't listened to much Necrophagia, I do know who they are and I have heard them before. And one of the cool things about this band was you could tell readily from anything you listened to that they didn't take themselves overly seriously. And if you're going to do like a horror band, like, you want there to be some campiness to it. And
100%.
some sort of theatric effect. And they had that throughout their career, and they definitely had it in here. And it's cool to see just kind of like an amalgamation of all of what was, and just a last, again, hurrah, and, you know, this is it, goodbye, we love you, good night. And it's kind of presented in here. Definitely Moribundis Grim, the title track. If they kept going, I again think that record actually would have been a banger. The Halloween 3 cover, the Sam Hain or Sam, however, I don't care. Selwyn. Whatever, I don't care.
I think Danzig called it Sam Hain when he did interviews for the band. I don't know.
I don't care. Yeah, that Halloween 3 cover is pretty cool. The Wicked, even though it's live and it sounds like it's recorded on a cell phone, like I said, it gives it more of like an intimate feel and just for nostalgia, and that's pretty cool. Is this something I'm going to probably sit down and jam again? Probably not, but at the same time, it's cool to have heard it. Farewell, Killjoy. Even though you've been gone for a while, I think this is a proper send-off. So yeah, if you've been a fan of this band, you're going to want to pick this up simply to bookend the collection because it's a worthy offering and a fine goodbye.
Yeah, I still have my copy of Death Trip 69, and it still has the blood pack in it. It still moves around, too.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's still bloody. It's not coagulated, so
I know a couple of YouTube buddies that showed me theirs, and it looks like just a fucking scab inside of a bag. Like, oh no, mine's still, you know, you gotta knead it a little bit.
Right. You gotta knead the bread, knead the dough, make
sure there's no holes in that thing too, otherwise you're ruining everything around it in the collection. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below, thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel, up in the bottom right-hand corner of our banner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size, and we also have hats too, so if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And last but certainly not least, we genuinely appreciate you guys. We thank you for continuing to show us your love and support. It means the absolute world to us. We still can't really believe that Thralls of Metal has continued to grow and become what it is today. Anyway, we have album reviews coming. We have discography rankings. Meshuggah's going to be up next, probably after we get back from MDF, because we're going to MDF, and I don't plan on focusing really on anything while we're there except for bands and having an awesome time because MDF rules.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll be there if you see us, provided there's not a band playing and we can actually hear you. Come up and say hello. We, enjoy meeting our fans and hanging out and doing whatever. It's going to be a party. Come fucking join us for the party. But yeah, really, thank you. We do this all for you. Nick, tell them more.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. And again, tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
And we will catch you later.